Hey guys, happy Thursday and welcome to the Fox 5 Live Zone. I'm your host, Guy Lambert. Another power-packed show coming up for you today. Another visit to the White House by a Prime Minister. In this case, the Prime Minister of Norway. We're going to take you there live. Hey, we're getting set for the NFL Draft tonight. The Commanders have the 29th pick, but which direction will they go in? We'll chat with an NFL expert. And dare I say, the Met Gala just days away. However, D.C. will have its own version. We'll break it down for you right here on the Live Zone. But first, how about we talk weather, shall we? Tucker Barnes joining us right here on the LZ. Good to see you, sir.
Hi, Guy. Well, wait, Met Gala in D.C.?
Well, it's our own version, if you will. It's
Okay.
going to be really interesting.
I'll be watching. I love it when you tease things, and now I want to find what's going to happen. All right, should we talk weather?
Let's do it.
Yeah, we got a little bit more in the way of clouds across the region to get our Thursday started, and more of the same is the bottom line on the forecast, with spring-like temperatures this afternoon. Not just spring-like, but they will be spring-like, as it's spring, and it'll be low 80s later this afternoon.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll take it. Don't worry about the clouds bringing us any rain. We will be rain-free this afternoon. In fact, at some point, we're going to talk about how we need rain again. We've been dry for the past week or so, and a lot of water needs this time of year. 67, mostly cloudy skies been reported at DCA, which is Reagan National, and you can see the airports mostly in the upper 60s at this hour, with clouds been reported. So the clouds are the high-thin variety, and you can clearly see that on your radar this afternoon. And they will come and go here. So I think there'll be some peaks and periods of sunshine throughout the afternoon as well. Either way, these particular clouds don't produce rain, so we're not worried about any rain showers. And we will keep it dry later today. I also want to mention, very quickly, that if you see a little haze out there, there's wildfires up in New Jersey.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, and it is possible some of that air gets entrenched into our atmosphere. So not that the air will be unhealthy or anything like that, but you might notice a little haze out there later this afternoon. Okay, big picture, some clouds south and west and some rain down into Tennessee. More rain out towards Chicago. They're going to, both those areas kind of team up and give us a warm front and a cold front starting tomorrow. So Friday will be a cloudy day. And then your weekend forecast starts rainy. Saturday starts rainy with lots of clouds on Saturday. It won't pour rain all day, but we'll probably have some showers in the morning. And then another chance of showers and thunderstorms with that cold front during the afternoon. And that will give way to a gorgeous, beautiful, picturesque, breathtaking Sunday with temps in the low 70s and lots of sunshine.
I've said it time and time again, you can't beat the weather this time of the year. I absolutely love it.
Maybe on 90 next week, first one of the year. We have not hit it yet, so Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll look for a 90.
All right. Tucker Barnes with all things weather right here on the Live Zone. Guys, if you haven't already done so, make sure you download the Fox Local app. That way you can take your weather with you any and everywhere you go. Now the latest on yesterday's stabbing at West Potomac High School. Students arriving to campus today, entering the school through weapons detectors brought in overnight. The school community is also shocked by the video now circulating on social media. Take a look. It shows 3 students fighting in the hallway around 9:30. Students watching, some moving away, and at least in this video, no security or staff in sight. Afterward, a second video shows the 16-year-old victim lying in a pool of blood. Fairfax County Police say the school resource officer was with the injured student within seconds. A 15-year-old suspect was taken into custody on the spot, and a third student was talking with police. Initially, parents were given what Fairfax County Public School officials call a stay put, stay tuned alert. Under that protocol, parents with ID would normally be allowed to pick up their kids. They were not, and obviously they were truly enraged. As for the delays in parents being able to pick up their students, officials explained that they had an active crime scene in the hallway, and that crime scene had to be preserved, documented, and cleaned up. Our Bob Barnard will have more on this story later this afternoon. Well, 2 police officers are recovering after a recent shooting in Fairfax. The officers suffered non-life-threatening injuries and are being treated at a nearby hospital. A driver is dead over what was supposed to be a simple routine traffic stop. We are still waiting to learn the identity of the driver. So far, we have only been told he's a 36-year-old male from the area. Police plan to release the body cam videos within 30 days and the officer's name within 10 days. Our very own Tom Fitzgerald will have more on this story this afternoon. Well, happening now, any minute, President Trump set to greet the Prime Minister of Norway. And when that happens, obviously, we'll take you there live. Also, we can tell you that crowds are still gathering and more are expected to come as Pope Francis lies in state in St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City ahead of his funeral on Saturday. Switching gears to politics, President Trump voiced his displeasure overnight on the strikes by Russia in Kyiv, calling Vladimir Putin to get the peace deal done. With regard to the trade war, Trump said he could reimpose reciprocal tariffs on some countries. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more, Andrea Kaye from the Andrea Kaye Show back here on the Live Zone. Good to see you, Andrea.
Always great to be with you, Guy.
All right, let's jump into it. We got a lot to chit-chat about today. The big story right now, well, for the first time in a long time, President Trump, in essence, somewhat scolding Russian President Vladimir Putin. In so many words, Trump told Putin to, quote, stop with regard to the bombing in Kyiv. What do you think about the president's rhetoric toward Putin?
Well, I think his rhetoric has been sharp to both Putin as well as to Zelensky. And the reason why it's just more recently been just kind of all of a sudden, as implied by your question, to Putin, because Putin has been coming to the table and has been willing to negotiate and has actually shown that he's interested in peace, unlike Zelensky. And so Trump has no dog in this fight other than to try to stop the endless carnage that is taking place and causing the loss of lives for both Ukrainians and Russians. And I really think that the pressure needs to be from the world on Zelensky to stop with his ridiculous, untenable demands that he be given back Crimea that he hasn't had since 2014, and that he become a member of NATO, which is never going to happen. Look, the roadblock to peace is and has always been Zelensky, and I predict here that Zelensky is going to show up at the Pope's funeral and try to get some attention for himself from Trump on at the funeral on Saturday, and hopefully he doesn't try to do that.
Yeah, we've heard that Marco Rubio has stated in so many words that the U.S. will simply walk away from the table if this deal is not done. We all want to see that deal done and peace to remain within that region. Andrea, let's move on to one of the other big stories of the hour. President Trump now asking the Supreme Court to allow a ban on transgender members of the military, in essence to take effect at least for now. This after a lower court ruled to do the exact opposite. Now, if this is done, Andrea, this in essence would be a big deal.
Well, is it really a big deal? As the daughter of two Marines, I'm well familiar with what it takes, and I've still got family in all the different branches. And for example, Mama, when Mama wanted to join the Marines, she was told she was underweight, and she had to go and have a hog down in New Orleans for a few days until she packed on enough weight to be able to be admitted into the Corps. Because the Marines, all the branches, the Department of Defense have long had, with the Commander-in-Chief, the right to decide who's battle ready and who isn't, and to lay out the conditions for that. Trump should not have to be going to the Supreme Court as Commander-in-Chief to ask for anything related to battle readiness. And I don't recall any court stepping in with Bill Clinton with his don't ask, don't tell back in the 90s. This is just more of the judicial insurrection that we see playing out. Trump's the Commander-in-Chief. He has the right to decide who's battle ready and who isn't. And those going through the many decades of transgender surgeries and beyond are not battle ready.
Yeah, it's definite. The president is facing a number of court battles right now, but that's not all he's facing. Facing a lot of criticism, if you will, surrounding the trade wars. We now know that Trump said he could reimpose reciprocal tariffs on some countries. In essence, if they don't get their act together, he will do this as soon as 2 to 3 weeks from now. It's unclear what tariffs Trump will slap on those countries and if they're unable to strike a deal. But one thing's for sure, it appears, Andrea, a lot of folks are going back and forth with the president.
Well, yeah, negotiations are underway, and we were not going to bring Trump, and the Trump administration was not going to be able to bring all these global actors who've been taking advantage of us economically with our assistance. He was not going to be able to bring them to the table on an ask. It was going to have to be through bold talk, bold actions, and there are negotiations that have been underway. We heard J.D. Vance outline or announce that a framework had been reached with India. We know, as Caroline Leavitt announced, 18 countries are in the process of working out deals. And this is what has to happen if we are going to return the United States to its manufacturing and innovative and technological greatness on which we always were in the past. Our history of the world, Guy, is the United States of America created all the technological innovations on which the world currently depends. But over time, through bad economic policy and bad trade deals, we don't manufacture anything anymore. And we have got got to turn that around if this country is going to stay afloat. And Trump is doing all that he can to ensure that. He's signaled through Scott Bessent that they're open to easing things with China to get them back to the table, to allow
Andrea,
China to
let me
save
stop you
face.
here for just one second. On the
Certainly.
top, or actually, we just took it full screen. The Prime Minister of Norway, Jonas Gahr Støre, actually arriving at the White House. You see the two, President Trump and the Prime Minister, shaking hands. They have a lot to talk about. Obviously, trade and regional security top of mind. Typically, the president says something or another. Let's see if he does just that. Let's take a listen in.
Trump, sir, today you told Vladimir Putin to stop with the attacks. Do you think he'll listen to you? I do, yeah. Do you think there's still a chance for peace?
All right, there we have it. President Trump taking at least one question. It wasn't quite clear what question it was posed. I heard something made mention of peace. Obviously, the two are going to have a bilateral meeting. Russia's war with Ukraine also likely to be discussed. Andrea, what do you think is going to come out of this meeting today?
Of talks, but I certainly think the question, as I heard it there, was President Trump, you've told Putin to stop. Do you think he's going to stop? And Trump said, yes, I think he will. One of the hiccups actually to the peace deal that was laid out was that Zelensky, Ukraine would not become a member of NATO, but there was a carve out for them to become a member of the European Union. Sanctions would be relieved of Russia. And it was the European Union that came out and said those conditions weren't amenable to them. So hopefully, as President Trump talks to the Prime Minister of Norway, that he gets them back to the table to understand that it is not in their interest for the United States of America to walk away from the negotiating table.
Yeah, following that bilateral meeting, we expect the Prime Minister and the President to address the meeting. Yet again, when that happens, we'll take you there live right here on the Live Zone. Got about 2 more minutes left, Andrea, and I want to definitely touch on these next two topics, one of which happens to surround the Secretary of Defense, Mr. Pete Hegseth. A lot of folks saying, Mr. Hegseth, you should stop using the Signal messaging app at this point. The Washington Post reporting that the former Fox News host had Signal installed on his office computer at the Pentagon, a major security risk and further evidence that Hegseth used the messaging tool frequently. What do you think about this? Is this going to continue to be an issue?
Well, it is if Hegseth continues to use Signal. Look, Signal is installed on all of the devices and all the apps. That's why so many people were on the chats. At this point, he's gotten rid of what were some people that were alleged to be leakers. But at this point, because there are still leaks within the Department of Defense, we learned yesterday Susan Rice is still on the Defense Advisory Council, which is ridiculous. We don't have time to get into her background, but Pete Hegseth is aware that there's infiltrators there, and he needs to tighten it up on his communications.
All right, we'll end with this, and that is, we all know you are a Republican strategist. In this case, we're going to, well, flip the script, if you will. We're talking about the Democrats. Apparently, Democrats now plan to spend some $12 million in rural areas with an eye toward 2028. It appears that the Democrats are saying, you know what, in order to win, we really need to win in those areas. What say you about that?
I think it's actually good strategy. I think they should probably spend more than $12 million. It's going to take that level of ground game across the country in all the rural areas.
probably the best answer I can give. Yes.
As you pointed out, the former Secretary General of NATO is here, Mr.
Yes.
Stoltenberg. How important is the NATO defense alliance, Mr. President? Is it sacrosanct from your perspective?
Well, it's a very interesting question. It's certainly very important for Europe, and I think without us it wouldn't be as nearly as powerful. And as the former Secretary General, who did a great job, can tell you, I played when I was there a very big role in making sure that NATO is funded by the 28, at that time they had 28 countries, including us, because many of the countries weren't paid, and they ended up being paid, you would say, and the Secretary General was very nice about it, as far as I was concerned. Other presidents went in, they made a speech, and they left, and that kept going on. And you know, in the meantime, they had no money, and the United States was paying far more than its fair share. You could say that they were paying. I actually said sometimes it looked like 100%, and it was unfair. And the two of us worked very well together, and we took care of the situation.
There are some NATO countries, Mr. President.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
As Norwegian statistics are showing that the U.S. actually has a trade surplus with Norway. Are you going to be looking into that and see which of the countries are actually in a trade surplus?
Yeah, well, with the United States, almost everybody has a surplus.
But not in
It's really an
Norwegian
amazing,
numbers.
it's an amazing phenomenon. Now, there's a surplus of a couple of $1 billion, I think you have with it. I congratulate you. That's very good. We got to get a little bit of that for ourselves, maybe. But they do have a surplus. Norway has a surplus.
Mr. President, in the current tariff situation, analysts have pointed out that the U.S. actually need allies. Do you consider Norway as a possible ally in the situation?
I think Norway's always been an ally. They've been somebody we've been very close to, very friendly with. Maybe more so now with me than other people, but I think Norway's always been a great ally, yeah. Norway's been a friend.
That's a very strange question, actually, because the U.S. is our lead ally, and we build on a relationship which we will talk about now, Mr. President. But
Yeah.
it's of high relevance, and I'm very happy that we have Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense. So this is a very strong tie.
But it was a question about ally in the tariff situation specifically.
Tariff situation.
Yes.
Oh, well, that's, we're talking about a little bit different subject then. We're talking about a different type of ally. No, in this case, he would be very much inclined to be an ally of Norway because he wants to make the best business deal possible. And Norway and the Norwegians are great business people. They're great traders. They're great, very smart nation, very well-managed nation. Has been for a long time, and in particular now with this leadership. But we'll be talking about trade and other things, and I think we're going to come to a conclusion very quickly.
Mr. President.
Mr. Prime Minister, I was wondering whether you think that Donald Trump, for his efforts in Ukraine and otherwise, deserves to be nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, I salute President Trump for having been taking very important initiatives to get this conflict towards an end which both parties deserve. We need to have a ceasefire, save lives, move towards something which is more secure for Europe, for the people concerned. And on that we work together. And I look forward to go into some details because we are at a critical moment. On that price, that is a committee taking care of that, which is completely working on its own terms, and I cannot comment on that.
Mr. President.
Question on China. Thank you very much for that question. I like that question. Yeah, please.
A question on China. Can you clarify with whom the U.S. is speaking with China? They're saying it's fake news that trade talks are happening.
Well, they had a meeting this morning, so I can't tell you. It doesn't matter who they is. We may reveal it later, but they had meetings this morning, and we've been meeting with China. And so I think you have, Jeff, as usual, I think you have your reporting wrong. Thank you very much. We'll see you. We'll see you inside. Thank you.
Thank you, President. Thank you. Everybody else. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, there you have it. President Trump sitting along with his cabinet as they meet with Prime Minister of Norway, Jonas Gahr Støre. The president making several remarks, stating that he believes peace will be reached between Russia and Ukraine, stating, quote, "I hope we get there." The president also made mention of the relationship with Norway, saying it happens to be very good and it is well managed. Yet again, we are expecting additional comments from both the president and the prime minister later this afternoon in the 1 o'clock hour. And when that happens, we'll take you there live right here on the Live Zone. Well, today is a very significant day. You see, today the world marks Holocaust Remembrance Day, a day created by the State of Israel back in April of 1955. Joining us to discuss this is Rabbi Derek Gorman, Managing Director of JSU at the National Conference of Synagogue Youth, and he's right here on the Live Zone. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and thanks for being patient. I want to clear up something first and foremost, because there's folks like me saying, hey, I thought this happened to take place in the month of January. Can you talk about the difference between the two, if you will?
Sure. There's Yom HaShoah, which is the International Holocaust Remembrance Day that was established right after the tragedies of the Holocaust. And then there's a separate date that was established by the United Nations that recognizes tragedies from the Holocaust and beyond. They're both important days.
Yeah.
This is more affixed within the Jewish community and the Jewish calendar.
And with that being said, sir, what do you all plan on doing today in order to remember those who, dear God, tragically lost their lives during that horrific time?
It's an important question. There's really two sides to the remembrance. One is to, of course, remember the tragedies of the evil Nazi regime and remember the 6 million whose lives were stolen, and to preserve their memory as a blessing, and even to think about individual people, because every person is another story and another world. But the other side of that, which is so important for every person remembering the Holocaust, is to remember the 1,000 years of beautiful Jewish culture and language and theater and faith and scholarship and humor and music. And the Jewish heritage was unbelievable. It still is. But for us to really recognize that which was lost, and more importantly, what we can do to rebuild that which was so tragically stolen from us.
Yeah, awareness definitely being key. I want to pose to you a report by the Anti-Defamation League, which found American Jews faced a record 25 anti-Semitic incidents per day last year. That's more than 1 per hour. Yet again, this is something that we need to bring attention to.
It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy, and we work in JSU clubs around the country. We work with tens of thousands of students. Some are formally reporting. We encourage them to, but not everyone is. Some people are still scared for different reasons to report. It's a tragedy, and that's why it's so important, the work that we do within the Jewish community, to support our students, to support our families and our communities. It's scary. It is scary,
yeah.
But it's also important to note that a lot of this hatred has woken up a number of Jews around the country. People saying, wait a second, if they hate me, but they don't know me yet. So people asking questions like, why do they hate me? What is it about my heritage that they're bothered with? And that encourages people to learn more. And education, especially within the Jewish community, is a pillar. It's a pillar of our heritage, and for us to really hold on to that. So there's something about that has awoken a number of Jewish students. They're starting to come to us in numbers unprecedented to start JSU clubs around the country, which is really that's a silver lining, if you will, of some of these challenges.
And so with that being said, yet again, what is it that you are saying to those students who approach you and say, you know what, I'm not too sure how to deal with this?
So first of all, we are so proud of you. We're so proud of you. It's not easy. It's not easy to be a target. It's not easy to stand up. It's much easier to take off your yarmulke or tuck in your Jewish star necklace and pretend that you're not part of this. But to stand up and say, I want to be part of the solution, and really to allow their hate of those that are expressing anti-Semitic sentiments, to allow their hate to fuel our joy and love of heritage. That's really what it's about, to fight this anti-Semitism with pro-Semitism, to be involved in community opportunities, to be involved with community building, to experience the bliss and joy of a traditional Shabbat dinner. These are the things that we encourage our students to be involved with. And we found that recognizing the joy and being involved therein has worked wonders with fighting anti-Semitism on high school.
I asked you, sir, the difference between today and what takes place in January. Folks that want to find out more information, how would one go about to do so?
Great. You can go to jsu.org, where you can contact me or our organization. And thank you. Thank you for having us. jsu.org.
You are truly welcome. Yet again, we are recognizing and honoring and remembering, if you will, as we think all things surrounding Holocaust Remembrance Day. Mr. Rabbi Derek Gorman joining us on the live zone. Thank you so much, sir. Truly appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Have a meaningful day.
All right. We'll take a quick break, guys. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. This afternoon, Pope Francis continues to lie in state at St. Peter's Basilica. More than 1 billion Catholics continue to mourn his death. On Saturday, a funeral will get underway, and then Pope Francis will be the first pope since Pope Leo XIII to be buried outside the Vatican. He will be laid to rest in a simple wooden casket. Joining us now to discuss the next steps is Bishop Joel Peebles, presiding bishop of Global United Fellowship. Bishop Peebles, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
God bless you. Thank you for having me.
I want you to walk us through this. There are so many folks that are trying to gauge as to what will happen next. And obviously, there happens to be a protocol. And I'm hoping you would expand and share with us what exactly we should see in the near future.
Well, first of all, Pope Francis was a significant figure in our time. In a time where there was so much animus. We have 56 wars going on in our nation. We have literally 96 countries, wars going on in our world, 96 countries that are at war. He was a voice that didn't speak truth to power. It was speaking truth from power. What we're going to see is a movement of the episcopus, those that are bishops, archbishops throughout the world, whether they are of Catholic or denominations. We all have a reverence. Over the next several weeks and days, you're going to see a group of individuals come together through the Vatican that are going to bring about cohesion in their group. Then, for those of us from an international standpoint, we're going to have an opportunity to celebrate this season. While there is great grief, there's also celebration over the tremendous work he's put forth.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there is now a change from the past, if you will. The rite no longer requires the body to be placed in the traditional 3 coffins made of cypress, lead, and oak. Do tell.
Well, what is taking place is there's always a change. Those that were from previous genres put themselves in a position where they begin to put things in motion that are different. However, what remains the same is the reverence for the work that he put forth. It is an understanding that however he is laid to rest, the nations are able to celebrate this. We all have different ways of doing this, different denominations. Things change, but at the end of the day, it is being able to celebrate the grace on the man and the tremendous work that he's put forth.
Yeah, and that work is truly amazing, unlike any other, I would argue. Can you speak to the sealing of the coffin? Yet again, something that folks who are not Catholic perhaps are trying to wrap their heads around.
Well, during this time, of course, I'm not Catholic myself, but from the Episcopus, we do have an understanding of some of these particular rituals. As the coffin is sealed, it is closed. If you were, case in point, those from a normal position, those in their homes, those from their families, you would come and stand around that as it was sealed, but it is lowered. So as it is sealed, the coffin is closed. It is then wound and lowered. As it is lowered, it is then prepared for its last moment of estate.
Yeah, yet again, very interesting. Bishop, I'm hoping you could speak to the actual process itself, the process of what's going to happen in order to select a new pope. We know that the new pope will be elected by the College of Cardinals in a private gathering, as we all know, known as a conclave. The meeting is secret, no electronic communication to the outside world, and cardinals who are under the age of 80 are summoned to the Vatican. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So in the midst of that taking place, we will have the presbytery that will be waiting on the outside looking to see, and there will be smokestacks that will go forth. And when the smokestack is read, it will then say that they have been able to come to an agreement and they would vote. Now, this can take time. It can be from hours to days and even weeks. But at the end of the day, they will have taken a larger group, whittled to a smaller group, and eventually they'll come to one who they believe is worthy of this high calling.
Bishop Peoples, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's to my understanding, and a lot of folks watching right now are probably saying, well, why does the Pope have to be of a certain age? And yet again, is it because that perhaps what is, let's say, not necessarily popular, but what the cardinals seek to have as a pope now and is popular among the masses, perhaps would not be popular in the next 20 years or so? And so that would be a changing of the guard, if you will, for another pope. Is that the case?
I think it goes down 2 streams. I think that is part of the case, but they also is one, I think, believes that during a certain season of life, we've been able to have certain levels of gained knowledge, wisdom, and been able to have certain works that have the capacity to speak for ourselves. And so when one is at a certain age and they've been able to look at that quote unquote resume, they've been able to see that they have achieved those things, and the timing in which they have achieved it has now given them also some years and age. Now, with all of that said, at the last moment, it also does allow us to be generational. You know, every generation has a voice. and seasons change, time changes, and it gives an opportunity for a waiting pope, one who is in the waiting, to have an opportunity to be at a certain place. So as they're watching this go forth, when the season comes and they are voted to be the Pope, the Pope, when that takes place, we're then in a scenario where, well, they don't have 40 or 50 maybe years of life. The time they have will be well spent, well invested, because of both the wisdom they've gained and then the fact that they speak to that generation.
Well said, sir. With those, you made mention of those who are in waiting. We have heard that there are several front runners, if you will, that perhaps could very well become the next pope. Anything that you would like to speak to?
Well, I don't specifically have, as they would say, a proverbial dog in the fight. What I will submit to you is from what Pope Francis stood for. It was being able to speak truth to power, speak truth from power, having the capacity to go against what would be cultural or even political, someone that did not mind ruffling a few feathers. I think the way that our world and country and nation and our planet is moving, it is going to necessitate someone that has a heart of empathy. You know, one of the things that has been in flux, that has been pushed and judged, is the fact that the Pope was heavy into asking for mercy. And we realize the Bible says, blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. We understand that's a critical component of this Christian walk. And to be a pope would be what I would consider to be the voice crying out in the wilderness, that as the world may be struggling in its capitalism, may be struggling for its own personal and political agendas, that voice, like our Pope Francis, that voice would be a voice that would be able to transcend the minutia and raise us to a higher consciousness.
And with that, Bishop Peoples, I'm hoping you can expand yet again on the character of the man that we knew as the Pope. We know that for years on end, he would pay for his own hotel room. We were told that at one point, even decided to take the public bus to get from point A to point B. Can you elaborate?
Well, so unlike so many, he did not speak from the throne, he spoke from the floor. One of the things that was incredible regarding him, he had this incredible statement where he said, I wish that all churches would be poor so they would have an understanding of how the poor live. He did not have a problem in addressing the fact that so many of us may have agendas, but the truth is all of us come to the foot of the cross. And while we may not all agree on all aspects of his theology and the Catholicism theology, the one thing I think that we all can come to is the understanding the level of empathy that he had for his fellow man. He fought for the disenfranchised. He fought for those that had been pushed out of the public, those who had been struggling in poverty. He fought for those that others would have cast away. He fought for the foreigner. He did not build walls, he built bridges. And I believe that in the next Pope, that is going to be something that's going to be sought after significantly.
Yet again, we have been speaking with Bishop Joel Peoples, presiding bishop of Global United Fellowship. Sir, truly appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's been an honor. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yet again, Pope Francis will be laid to rest on Saturday. We'll have continuous coverage throughout the day right here on Fox 5. We'll take a quick break and be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. On the top left-hand side of your screen, obviously taking a live look at the White House, where in the 1 o'clock hour, we are expecting President Trump to hold a, well, let's say a bilateral meeting with the Prime Minister of Norway, Jonas Gahr Støre. The two addressed the media earlier today. However, the second time around, that will take place from the Oval Office. A part of that discussion, trade and regional security. Also, Russia's war on Ukraine likely to be discussed. Yet again, that's due to happen in the 1 o'clock hour, and we'll take you there live right here on the Live Zone. Back now with producer Chris with some of the sizzling topics, and I got to tell you, I'm really excited about what we're talking about today.
I had to bring in the cell phone for this first story, okay? We both have our Androids. Question for you.
Yep.
How am I saved in your phone?
Chris, parentheses, Fox 5.
Okay. Absolutely. I don't know a single other Guy Lambert, but you're in my phone as Guy Lambert, parentheses, Fox 5 DC. Nice. I will admit, I save everyone, first and last name, and basically how I know them or where I know them from, just in case it ever comes up that I need somebody to go through my phone, for example. But the question is about your loved ones.
Ooh.
How you saved your loved ones in your phone, specifically your partner.
Okay.
In this case, because allegedly, how you save your partner's contact in your phone can say a lot about your relationship. This is according to a psychotherapist who spoke out to The Independent. The Wire recently wrote about this. Excuse me, Vice recently wrote about this. I'm thinking about The Wire because Trey Chaney's going to be on Good Day tomorrow, and I was just over at my desk looking at old clips of The Wire. Vice wrote about this, and basically this psychotherapist says that because your partner's contact card in your phone is kind of a visual reminder of your relationship, that the more playful or personal that it is, says something about your relationship. Now, I will freely admit, mine says Molly Smith, but that is significant to me because I changed her name from Molly Salola, which was her maiden name, to my last name when she took my last name. It was like a point of pride. However, my parents and my siblings are in my phone as their full first and last names, admittedly. Not mom. No emojis for anyone in my phone. We talked about this on Good Day DC. Steve had a similar story about his wife and his name in her phone because it was saved as full name, which he felt was a little formal, almost like just, oh, who is this person again? Type of a thing. So my question for you is, do you give special people in your life special designations in your phone?
I don't. I was thinking about it. I just have her name saved as her name. But perhaps that's why I'm not married, Chris.
Now, I will say, the one thing that I did do, to my own credit, I like to think, is our text conversations are pinned at the top of my phone.
Yeah.
So because what I found, and that's a more recent thing as well, because what I found was on the weekends when we're spending all of our time together, all of a sudden it would be Monday morning and I'd have to scroll back like 15, 20 text messages just to find her phone number. So now they're pinned at the top, so I always know exactly where it is. Jacqueline Matter shared that her fiance's name has a heart emoji next to it, and other special people in her life have their own designated emojis. Annie Mae's partner is just in her phone as a first name because she said she doesn't necessarily have anyone else with that same name in her phone. So I find it very interesting. Some people just like the organization of things. And I think that's what the category I tend to fall into. Also, I will say most of the contacts in my phone at this point are actually probably professional contacts because most of my friends, I keep a tight circle. So there's only like 5 or 10 of them.
It's so interesting you say that because it's my friends that I have nicknames for, like, loser.
Exactly. So there was only one person, and I'm going to call him out. He had just turned 40 in his phone, and he made up a nickname for himself. Now, he may have been under the influence of something the night that he made up that influence. So I, on the spot, changed his name in my phone to that nickname, and it remains that to this day, and every time I text him and it pops up, he feels a certain way about it. Matt Link, I'm talking about you.
Whatever it is, for the record, when us guys talk bad about another guy, it's all love.
It's always love. It's always love. But I will. Here's the one thing I will add to that as well. My group chat names are generally much more playful.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, those ones get some interesting names, I will say.
Hey man, it's heating up in a major way.
It is.
I can't wait to throw on some shorts.
Time to start showing off some legs. Start working on those quads. Yeah, right. Mine, chicken legs over here. I can't, no matter what I do, I know. Shout out to my personal trainer, Nicholas. She tries.
Oh, there you go.
However, it's just, it's those years of running and sitting on my flat butt. However, jean shorts are nothing new. We know that. They've been around forever. And every summer and spring, when people start wearing them again, we get our think pieces about whether these are actually fashionable or not. Esquire says in a recent Instagram post and article that it's time to embrace them. It's time to embrace them. It's summer 2025. We've been wearing them for years. Now's the time to actually lean in. However, they also say there are some rules to wearing them. They basically say it comes down to length. They should be at the knee or above.
Okay.
They basically say that it comes down to how you style them, and then it comes down to the accessories you wear with them. Those are their three basic rules. We made it our Fox 5 Live Insta poll today. I wanted to know how viewers feel about embracing the jort. And I was a little surprised by the results, a little overwhelming here. 3/4 of people say they like embracing the jort, bringing it back, wearing it, rocking it, however you prefer. Only 25% said they do not. I asked Chad Ricardo, because if you saw Chad Ricardo out in the streets yesterday, he was rocking the red shorts. He was wearing them right here in the newsroom, showing off some leg. I asked him if he likes them. I've seen him in shorts before. He says he doesn't like denim at all, including when it comes to shorts.
Well, if anybody could do it, it's Chad.
Anybody could do it, it's Chad.
Yeah,
How about Guy Lambert?
I'm not really a fan of it, but to each their own. I haven't tried it, so perhaps I need to try it, and then I can speak on it. But I'm not going to buy it unless my stylist put me in something like that.
I was looking back through some old pictures of my dad one time, and he was playing softball in a pair of what I can only imagine were handmade, homemade, cut-off denim shorts. The kind where the pockets they're so short, now those I could 100% get behind. I have one pair of denim shorts. I bought them probably in the last 5 to 7 years. They're not blue, and that's kind of key to me. I can't successfully rock like the acid wash.
I like those.
Old school. I do too, but not for me. So I have a pair of like dark gray denim ones. So they could almost pass as not quite jorts.
Yeah.
However, again, the question, as always, with what's in my closet is, does it still fit?
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's what happens when you start to get up there in that age. Join the club.
Story of my life.
Producer Chris with all things sizzling right here on the Live Zone. Truly appreciate you,
Thank
sir. We'll take a quick break, guys. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, it is now just 1 minute before the top of the hour. Yesterday, obviously, we were covering a number of press conferences, as we always do right here on the Live Zone. And, well, we wanted to get you set for Kids Fashion Week. It's set to get underway this weekend. Had a conversation with some of the organizers. However, it didn't air then. It airs right now. Take a look. How about a little lights, camera, action? In this case, it's time for the Kids Fashion Week Network, best known as KFW. It's a nonprofit organization that is for kids and by kids. Founded, get this, in 2017. Over the last 8 years, they have created a lane for youth working in fashion in all creative spaces. Joining us now to discuss just that is ANDREA Marie, co-founder and CEO, and Akila Bro, co-founder and COO, both of which are kind enough to join me right here on the Live Zone. Good afternoon, ladies. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
I got to tell you, it's always cool when I have my friends on. So happens to be one at that time. I am so proud of what you all have been able to do over the past 7 years. When I think of Kids Fashion Week, I think of, well, two women that have been so successful at making a dream become a reality. Do tell.
Oh, yes. Kids Fashion Week started in 2017 with the three of us, me, Akila, and Crystal Davis. We had children in the industry, and we always had to travel elsewhere for them to work. So it's really important for us to build a staple event for youth and teens here in Washington, D.C. And over the last 8 years, we have done just that. We've created a lane for all youth working in fashion, arts, and business. And we couldn't be more proud either.
Yeah, one of the cool parts is you see the kids. I've seen many a video of what you all have been able to do. And you see a child that perhaps starts out and they're somewhat timid, somewhat shy, somewhat meek. And by the end of the whole program, oh my gosh, they're a star in the making. I mean, it's just so cool. The confidence that they leave with in knowing that it's because of you all that happened, it's got to put a smile on your face.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, first of all, we do see that throughout the season, but we've had the opportunity to see them grow since they were little. So some of them have come to us when they were 5, turning 6, and then 6, and now they're turning, oh my God, we actually have people who have matriculated out and are in college. So watching the growth of the children has been phenomenal, and to see all the amazing things they have done since starting with us in Kids Fashion Week. And they have blossomed not to just do fashion and design, but, they're excelling in academics. They're now entrepreneurs. And, for us, it just warms our heart to be a part of that.
All right, now D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, and whoever else wants to come can see it in a major way. You're getting set for the 4-day-long event. What can we expect?
Wow, we have an amazing week set up. We've already begun with all the media prep, but then tomorrow kicks off for the public. We have a free Power of Fashion panel at Howard University, where I am an alum, and hosted by poet Taylor. We have amazing panelists. We have Kenny Cass Flanagan, who's a pioneer in fashion here in DC, the iconic Angelique Michelle, who's really good in fashion and tech, and the prestigious Mr. Ron David, who owns Ron David Studios here in DC, as well as in New York.
Yeah. Let me ask,
that's
why?
Just one day.
That's just one day.
That's just one day.
So then Friday we have a dance party, and so that's just the time to come out, celebrate, hang out with us. Saturday is our cast only, but that's where we're getting all the nuts and bolts done. We're doing our final fittings, we're practicing, but we're going to have a lot of fun and make it interesting for them. But then Sunday is the Capitol runway. That is what everyone is waiting for. Tickets do sell out, so please go and get your tickets. We have 11 designers, over about 40 models, and it's going to be a big day. And Capitol Runway meant a lot for us because we are bringing it back to DC. Like, we've had so many different themes, but this year we are celebrating what it means to be a Washingtonian.
Yeah, it's just so cool. I'm just so proud of what you all have been able to do. You really changed the game, if you will. I'm curious, you made mention, Akila, of working with so many folks throughout the years, and they have gone on to do, I wouldn't necessarily say bigger and better things, but they have been successful as well. Can you talk about some of those youth that you all saw early on and now happen to be doing just that?
Yeah, we certainly can. It's so many, it's almost hard to name them in this amount of time. But some that come to mind, we work with Gabby Lofton, who owns Gabby's World. She's known as DC's youngest designer. She's been a designer since she was 3 years old. Now she's 13 and she is still designing with us. We also work with Eris Aubrey, who has gone on to be a super viral supermodel. And Eris actually has modeled with us every year Then she became a designer with us, and now she has graduated to be the model coach. So she is the first youth model coach of Kids Fashion Week this year. We also work with Miles Minishotter. Everyone knows Miles. He's all over the DC and all over the East Coast, flicking it up on the runway. And we have so many models and designers to showcase that it's so hard to fit them in this segment.
Yeah, yeah. Yet again, not only are you all proud, but I'm pretty sure their parents are proud as well. So, excuse me, not only do you all do amazing work with regard to what happens on the runway, but I hear you all do stuff outside of the runway as well.
Oh yes, we have events all year. I think a lot of people know us for the runway show, but we have created a separate brand called Fab, Fashion, Art, and Business. So throughout the year, we have workshops and classes for them to take in various different disciplines. We have acting, we've done yoga, we've done so many different things. And it'll be nice if people just go on the website and check us out. We actually have a skate party coming up next month. We have, at the end of the year, a gala that is our big fundraiser. So please just stay tuned and see what we have.
We've been making mention about the kids time and time again, but I'm pretty sure you all have a lot of interaction with the parents as well. And I'm hoping perhaps, well, if you know me, I'm a storyteller, and I'm hoping perhaps you could tell me a story about the interaction you had with a parent, yet again, that perhaps was somewhat hesitant to have their child sign up, but then daggone it, once that happened, oh, they too are smiling from ear to ear.
I think we see it most commonly with the really young models, because on show day, we require the parents to leave them with us. They have to drop them off, and they don't see them until they see them on the runway. So sometimes you have really young kids who are 5 or 6 or 7 years old, and their parents, especially the girls, are hesitant to leave them. And then the beautiful part from a story perspective is we've had other parents who've worked with us for several years reassure these new parents that they're in good hands, they're safe with Kids Fashion Week. Not only are these ladies mothers, but their mothers are the ones helping backstage. Our mothers are in charge backstage. So it's a family environment and it's safe. So it's always reassuring when we don't have to always talk to the parents, because other parents who know us reassure them. They have their own parent network, and we are so grateful for all the parents that we work with.
Yeah, perhaps the proof is in the pudding. Why do I say that? Because you all have taken your talents to San Diego as well. It's bi-coastal.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. We've had, how many shows up there now?
We're celebrating 5 years.
Yeah, on number 5. So San Diego, we've also done a show in New Orleans. So we're very grateful to just have people see what we have done and ask us to come and just start chapters in other places. And there's been even international inquiries as well. So we're just really grateful and humbled.
All right, I'm sold. A big kid like me, I guess it's too late for me to sign up, but all the others that would like to do so, and the parents that are watching and would like to get their kids involved, how do they go about to do so?
There's so many ways to get in touch with us. The easiest way is to go on our website, www.kfwnetwork.com. You can also sign up to be a member. If you become a FAB member, you have so many perks. You get information ahead of time. It's only $5 a month to be a member. And with that, we take them to the White House, we take them to the Go-Go Museum, and we keep them engaged throughout the year. And also definitely follow us on Instagram. We're on all social media, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, but Instagram is probably our strongest platform, and you can see the models slaying the runway and the camera every day.
Yeah, it's amazing how times have changed. I think Instagram is now leading the way. It's just, it's truly amazing. Congratulations, ladies. Yet again, we have been speaking with Antea Marie, co-founder and CEO, Akila Bro, co-founder and COO. Yes, we're getting set for the Kids Fashion Week Network, and they were kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, ladies. Make it a great day.
Thanks, Guy.
You're welcome.
See you there.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. So the countdown is on. On to what? Well, you already know. It's all things fashion. Yes, this year's Met Gala theme, Superfine Tailoring Black Style, honors the legacy and future of Black dandyism as a joyful, radical act of self-expression. And although the event is taking place in New York City, D.C. is going to host its own event. This will garner the attention of the fashion world. Yes, it's a vibrant, community-driven celebration at the Darcy Hotel, a bold, art-filled space just steps away from DuPont and, shall I say, Logan Circles. You know what I'm talking about. I'm referring to the Met Gala viewing party, May 5th, beginning at 6 p.m. Here to tell us all about it is Batul Sadek. She is the Regional Director at Fashion Group International DC and kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. Good to see you and welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here to chat with you today about all the things we love, which is fashion, of course. As Regional Director for Fashion Group International of Washington, D.C., I'm so honored and excited to be able to have this opportunity alongside our amazing board to really get the D.C. fashion community together and celebrate a theme and a moment that we are all living for in this moment. And so, you know, as a representative here in DC for the global organization of Fashion Group International, we really work hard to create an inclusive platform for individuals and creatives in the community to come together in a way where, yes, we can network, but we can also create those authentic relationships to support one another and really spotlight the amazing talent that we have in our community here in the DMV, which can get overlooked from time to time. And so really being that space to bring everyone together is huge. And we're very excited for our upcoming Met Gala viewing and vendor showcase to spotlight those amazing, you know, designers and photographers and stylists and so on in our community.
You all do it all so well. I love, well, first of all, I love all things fashion. So that got my attention immediately. And shortly thereafter, I love that you all like to unite folks using fashion. I mean, who does that but you all, and you do it all so well.
Yeah, I mean, really, fashion is about building connections. It's a way to communicate. And so to be able to do so in a way that, yeah, it's fun. We have food. The fashion, of course, is always on point. But to be able to do so for causes we feel passionately about. You know, for example, we hosted our Blue Jacket fashion show viewing event back in February at Blue Dot. And we were able to create awareness around prostate cancer for Zero Prostate Cancer, which is another organization we collaborated with. And so to do so in a way that's fun, fashionable, but then also for a cause is really big for us.
All right, so let's talk about the event that's coming up in the near future. Yet again, we're talking about all things surrounding the Met Gala. However, I love it how you're bringing that, if you will, right here to the nation's capital, the Darcy Hotel, to be more specific. What am I going to be surrounded by? What am I going to see when I walk in the viewing party?
Oh my gosh. Well, you're going to walk into the red carpet, right? So that's huge. Definitely, we have so many amazing vendors and talent that will be there. We have Lisa the Dress, we have BJ Phoenix, we have House of Jillian Marie. Benjamin Coy, who is FGIDC family, will be hosting. And so we're going to have the opportunity to view the Met Gala in all of its glory and to really honor the theme of superfine tailoring Black style and what Black dandyism actually is, which is an amazing style movement filled with cultural expression and rooted in, you know, that culture and resistance. And so, of course, we're going to have lots of photography moments. We all love a good Instagram moment. And so being hosted at the Darcy Hotel is an extra special treat for us to really curate this elevated fashion experience. It's definitely the event of the year, and we encourage everyone to definitely come and participate and just really live in that moment of fashion.
Yeah, as you made mention, yes, it's all things fashion, but what I also love about this, and as you alluded to, it's really an ability to have or enables folks to have a conversation. So much more that can be discussed while at this yet again amazing event.
Sure, and as I mentioned, you know, fashion really is a form of communication and expression. And so to take the notions of times past, and, you know, the word dandy, of course, was used in the early 18th century to refer to European men who appreciated socializing and fine art. But then to take that and to flip the narrative into something that is more authentic and unique, and to really bring that self-expression and this idea of I am here, right? And the idea of the Black dandy. And so we saw it with Dapper Dan. We saw it, of course, with the King, Andre Leon Talley, and more recently with Pharrell Williams. And so it definitely has seen a transition over the decades. And, you know, to be able to bring that to DC is something that we're very, very excited about.
Yeah. Folks that want to purchase tickets, how would one go about to do so?
Absolutely. So you can follow us on FGIDC through Instagram. We have the Eventbrite link there. Ticket sales are ending soon. So do grab your tickets. We have a few left, and we hope to see you there. But definitely follow us on Instagram at FGIDC, and you can learn more about our organization at fgi.org.
Absolutely love it. Yet again, we're getting set for the one and only Yes Met Gala viewing party set to take place at the Darcy Hotel May 5th beginning at 6 p.m. And we've been chatting with Batul Sadiq. She's the regional director at Fashion Group International DC, but joins us right here on the Live Zone. I truly enjoyed this. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
So much. We look forward to seeing all of you there.
You're welcome. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Yet again, we are awaiting President Trump. He is joined by Jonas Gahr Støre, that is the Prime Minister of Norway, both holding a bilateral meeting, and we are expecting them to address the media very shortly. In the meantime, I want to bring you up to speed with regard to perhaps one of the biggest stories back in 2022, the Highland Park, Illinois shooting, with regard to the shooter now being sentenced. Let's go ahead and take a listen in with regard to reaction following that parade shooter sentencing.
Vocal about certain legislation. Why did you want to do that, and how has that been taken?
I think it was very frustrating to me to see that it's a case by case basis. The feds get to decide who gets a terrorism charge, and looking into what shooters have gotten this kind of charge, it's literally a case by case basis. Like the Parkland shooter didn't, but another school shooter did, and this is domestic terrorism. We have to start calling that. We have to start charging shooters, and for what this is, which is terrorism. We walk around it and we don't talk about it for what it is, and it's time to change that. And so I just started talking to lawmakers about the possibility of doing this bill, and Rep. Moulton he's going to introduce it soon.
Did you learn anything yesterday with some of the video that was shown that maybe you didn't know from the interrogation at all, or no? Was there anything that you walked away like, wow, I didn't know that?
I did not know that he had been planning it for so many years. I did not know that he had taken a moment to decide if he was going to do it. I did not. There were a lot of things that I learned about that, yeah.
Has anything about the trial changed how you sort of think about this drive you've been going for, or has that kind of stayed consistent after this?
I definitely, seeing that he didn't get that terrorism charge definitely changed my opinion about our judicial system. And also, right now I really call on Pam Bondi to look at these kinds of mass shootings and charge them appropriately. She should be charging the FSU shooter with terrorism. I don't know any other way to describe what these people are doing other than that.
Actually, one last thing.
Yeah.
Primo behaving erratically during the course of all the pre-trial, and then once there was a confusion about what's happening and the sentencing was halted, what were you thinking at that point? Were you worried, like, oh my God, here we go again with antics?
Yeah, I think all of us were sort of in shock. We were concerned he was going to come to court. Clearly he did not, but this tracks for him and his behavior throughout this process. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
All right, there you have it. Reaction pouring in following the sentencing of, the man who opened fire back on July 4th of 2022, wounding some 50 people and killing 7 people. That man now sentenced to life behind bars. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back. right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Question: are consumers actually ahead of businesses when it comes to AI? Think about that. Ponder on that. You see, new research from Salesforce says yes, and it's not just about the future. It's happening right now. Some 65% of consumers say they want AI agents to help make smarter decisions and literally simplify their lives. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Vala Afshar. He's a Chief Digital Evangelist at Salesforce and kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. Vala, good to see you, sir, and welcome to the show.
Good to be here with you, Guy. Thank you for having me.
I got to tell you, never in my many years have I met a Chief Digital Evangelist. You are the first one, sir. How cool is that? So Salesforce has new research out that reveals consumers might be more ready for AI than we think. Do tell.
Yes, AI agents may be new, but our research shows consumers are ready for AI agents and they're using them. Salesforce conducted research for consumer adults in the US. And throughout our research, we were able to identify 4 personas, each with unique interest in agentic AI. The personas included the smarty pants. I took the quiz. I happen to be one of the smarty pants. The minimalist, the life hacker, and the tastemaker.
Wow. It's just so interesting. Yet again, I am so new to AI, and I would venture to say a lot of my viewers are probably saying, hey, yeah, me too, I'm still trying to get a grasp on it. And so for the average consumer who's never heard of the AI agent, can you explain what it is and how it all works?
Yeah, that's a great question. Most of us are likely to have been exposed to chatbots or co-pilots, but AI agents are far more intelligent and they can take action on your behalf. So AI agents are like your new digital assistant. And if you're an assistant, you understand my preferences, you understand my needs, so you can perhaps take action on my behalf. And that's the superpower of agents. They're not just assisting us, but they're actually able to take action on our behalf. And that's going to help us not only be more informed about the decisions we make, but also give us some back time and allow us to have a less stressful work or life quality.
Yeah, we all know that we want less stress, if you will. I'm signing up for that ASAP. It looks like the majority of consumers today really are in the quote-unquote know-it-all category. I know we've all heard that before. Can you tell us a little bit about these folks and how they're using, yet again, AI agents?
Yeah, these are the largest population, 43%. And these are folks that want to make more well-informed decisions. Majority of these folks are Gen Z, and they represented about 70% interest in using agentic AI as compared to the overall survey, which was in the 60s. I can give you an example because I took the quiz and I was, a smarty pants. And for me, I travel internationally quite a bit, and often I go through Heathrow Airport. So when I use the Heathrow Airport app, the agent recommends parking spots that are best nearest to my gates. I can make restaurant reservations closest to my gates.
Wow.
Of course, I can get departure and arrival times. So as I'm traveling through a busy airport, 80 million people go through this airport to 200 destination. It's one of the busiest airports in the world. It removes stress for my travel. So I love this particular example because it reduces my angst and helps me make better decisions that I'm going from one place to another. So that's one example. If you're looking for recipes using, companies like Shark Ninja, this is something that, perhaps the life hacker is using to find great food recipes. And a tastemaker who's scheduling vacations. And these are folks that are looking for, they're tastemakers, they have highly personalized, fitted experiences. So you could be using Secret Escapes app. And a Secret Escapes app knows whether you're a couple or you're a family, whether you're adventurous or someone like me who wants to sit on the beach and enjoy my cheeseburger. So
hey, don't forget the fries now. Don't forget the fries.
You don't. Guy, See, It's funny you say that because a lot of consumers are using agents for health advice.
Huh.
So you're right. It's likely my digital assistant would warn me about my fry consumption. Yes.
Vala, I got to ask you, I'm thinking when I make mention of AI, it's all Gen Zers, meaning they probably feel more comfortable, and I'm taking a shot here with actually using it. But perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps it's everyone, baby boomers included.
No, in our survey, Guy, we saw categories again from baby boomers to Gen X like myself to millennials to Gen Z. All of them have found a home in these 4 different personas. It is true that, for example, when we look at the minimalists, the ones that are just looking for simplicity, majority of them were boomers and Gen X. But I will say, if we can fast forward 12 months from now, 2 years from now, I suspect, regardless of age, regardless of demographic, all of us are going to be using digital agents.
Wow, this is just so exciting. Folks that want to find out more information about this, how would one go about to do so?
Yeah, please visit salesforce.com and also visit our education program we have. We call it Trailhead. It's as long as you have internet access, it's at no cost. You can learn about AI in business. You can learn about how to use a variety of AI sciences. The program is called Trailhead. We have over 20 million active learners that are every day bettering themselves, learning about AI. And again, it's at no cost. And you can take a quiz after you learn a section and you earn a badge. We find that our customers and our employees or our communities are really excited about having access to affordable education so they can learn more about these new powerful emerging technologies.
Vala, I got to tell you, as soon as I get off work today, I'm going to sign up and take that quiz. I'd love to let you know what happens thereafter.
Thank you, Guy. Thank
No
you so
doubt.
much for having me.
Yet again, we've been speaking with Vala Afshar. He is the Chief Digital Evangelist at Salesforce and kind enough to join us right here on the LZ. Good to see you, sir. Make it a great day.
Thank you, sir.
All right. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Joined now with Sylvia, our digital content producer, with some of the stories we're following for you. Happy Thursday,
Happy Baby Friday. Yes, we love hearing that.
Don't we all? I'm telling you. So this first story is something that I got to tell you, I'm somewhat shocked that it surrounds a local shopping mall.
Yes, so we in Westfield Mall potentially could be facing some uncertainty. Westfield recently defaulted on a $235 million loan. Now this actual mall was built in 1958, and there's a chance that, you know, it may not be what it once was or what we know it as. Yeah, some things could be changing here.
Wow. So okay, so I would assume they've taken out another loan if it was built in 1958. It should have been paid off by now, right?
I would think so.
Wow.
But who knows with loans and interest and the down and all, there's a lot goes on.
Very interesting. I have. You asked me prior to us starting the segment, have I ever been there? Yeah, I used to go there all the time.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, some of my suits are from they have a JCPenney's there.
Well,
I got
there
them
you
from
go.
JCPenney's there. So.
But we talk about this all the time about, like, it seems like these plazas or malls are kind of like coming to an end, like due to like less foot traffic, the stores closing. I think JCPenney is one of those stores that you may not be able to find very many around, or Macy's shutting down and things. Like, there's just a change of some of these staple locations and shopping centers.
I'm so glad you agree. I didn't say it correct. I said JCPenney's, and you said JCPenney. Is that what it is?
Is it? I don't know. Because sometimes, you know, you add an S to it.
I add an S to everything.
Like, is it Macy or is it Macy's? Like, which one is we're going to the Macy's.
Well,
that's what
Sylvia's. How about that? Plural.
There we go. That works.
I was at Springfield Mall the other day, and to your point, it was desolate. No one was inside. And granted, it was a Tuesday, Monday afternoon or something like that. But still, the mere fact that no one happened to be in there, no foot traffic, I began to wonder, wow, how did these folks make money?
Yeah, I don't know. But online shopping has been like something I think that has taken over, but maybe with Trump's recent tariffs, potentially we will see an increase in foot traffic in these malls and shopping centers.
All right, well, I'm wishing Westfield Mall the best. And hopefully they can get out of that. All right, speaking of the president, and by the way, we are awaiting him to speak from the Oval Office with the Prime Minister of Norway, and that should be happening any minute now. But in this case, we're talking about what the president had to say about the commanders.
Yes, so in a press conference, conference yesterday afternoon. He was asked about the Washington Commanders name, and there's talks about potential changes to the name, maybe. And President Trump responded by saying that Washington Redskins is a superior name to Commanders. This is all on the heels of the team actually saying that the new name or a name that they decide on will be posted on the RFK site. So kind of a lot of chatter is kind of coming around Trump's recent statement. I know it's kind of been trending online for a little bit of time here, but some people wondering, could the team potentially go back to their former name?
Really interesting. A lot of folks, to your point, like you said, have a lot of comments on it. I'll say this, and we've talked about it time and time again. I am a true Commanders fan. I grew up as a Washington Redskins fan. I would really like that name. However, there's one problem, Sylvia. And that is if you look it up in the dictionary, it is a derogatory term.
Right. So
I didn't know that. And so, it's just, if that's the case, then we have to all accept it is what it is.
I do wonder what could happen with Trump kind of weighing in on this. Could this influence the team? Could we potentially take some steps back? And everyone just kind of have to deal with it.
Really interesting.
We'll see what comes from this.
But it's cool that everybody's talking about the Commanders.
That's all that matters. We want people talking about the Commanders. I've been seeing on my timeline that the players are back in the field. They're getting in there, like they're getting their workouts in. I think Hard Knocks is probably going to start coming up again. I was like, oh, it's that time of year.
Speaking of that time of the year, it's going to get all underway tonight because, yes, the NFL draft getting underway.
The NFL draft is kicking off tonight at 8 p.m. Can you believe that it's time again?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
Are you?
I'm ready.
OMG, I looked up and I was like, wait, I've been asking Chad, like, wait, when does this happen again? When does practice start? Like, everything is gearing up for the NFL draft. Tennessee Titans actually have the first pick, so a lot of people are wondering what could come from this. Our very own Chad Ricardo will be letting you all know what the Commanders end up coming up with, what could happen, the shakeups that could happen here. I haven't seen a lot of the young players who are potentially being drafted. Well, Shedeur Sanders, of course. And, there's some uncertainty there with him. I love Deion Sanders. Any athlete or celebrity that had a reality TV show, I know everything about them. So we'll see what happens with Shedeur Sanders being, one of those high prospect QBs.
You know what's interesting about that, and hopefully Chad will talk about this later on, and that is the mere fact that how much money he's making in college because of the deals that they're able to strike now. He might make more in college
than what he would
going to the NFL.
And I did see a lot of controversy. It seems like a lot of coaches may not necessarily be fond of Shedeur, potentially because of his father, the swag that he brings, whatever it may be. And I'm even wondering, could he still continue to make more money, not even entering the league? Like if the league kind of wants to put the doors up on him entering. Something that we'll have to keep an eye on.
By the way, the Commanders have the 29th pick, at least as of right now. They might be able to get a better pick or trade and do something else.
Can you imagine Shedeur Sanders at the Commanders?
No, we don't need him. He's a quarterback. We already
have
our quarterback.
I know. We have Jaden Daniels. That's true.
By the way, I went to the Caps game last night, and he was there. Threw a
Did
football.
you?
It was awesome.
Yes, I saw the videos. It was amazing.
Right,
Jaden, let me know ahead of time, please. I would have came. I would have went.
Sylvia with the stories we're following for you on fox5dc.com. Truly appreciate you. She's our digital content producer. All right, guys, take a quick break, and we'll be right back. First, how about we talk weather, shall we? Tucker Barnes joining us right here on the LZ. Good to see you, sir.
Hi, Guy. Well, wait, Met Gala in D.C.?
Well, it's our own version, if you will. It's
okay.
going to be really interesting.
I'll be watching. I love it when you tease things, and now I want to find out what's going to happen. All right, should we talk weather?
Let's do it.
Yeah, we got a little bit more in the way of clouds across the region to get our Thursday started, and more of the same is the bottom line on the forecast, with spring-like temperatures this afternoon. Not just spring-like, but they will be spring-like, as it's spring, and it'll be low 80s later this afternoon.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll take it. Don't worry about the clouds bringing us any rain. We will be rain-free this afternoon. In fact, at some point, we're going to talk about how we need rain again. We've been dry for the past week or so, and a lot of water needs this time of year. 67, mostly cloudy skies been reported at DCA, which is Reagan National, and you can see the airports mostly in the upper 60s at this hour, with clouds been reported. So the clouds are the high-thin variety, and you can clearly see that on your radar this afternoon. And they will come and go here. So I think there'll be some peaks and periods of sunshine throughout the afternoon as well. Either way, these particular clouds don't produce rain, so we're not worried about any rain showers. And we will keep it dry later today. I also want to mention, very quickly, that if you see a little haze out there, there's wildfires up in New Jersey.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, and it is possible some of that air gets entrenched into our atmosphere. So not that the air will be unhealthy or anything like that, but you might notice a little haze out there later this afternoon. Okay, big picture, some clouds south and west and some rain down into Tennessee. More rain out towards Chicago. They're gonna, both those areas kind of team up and give us a warm front and a cold front starting tomorrow. So Friday will be a cloudy day. And then your weekend forecast starts rainy. Saturday starts rainy with lots of clouds on Saturday. It won't pour rain all day, but we'll probably have some showers in the morning. And then another chance of showers and thunderstorms with that cold front during the afternoon. And that will give way to a gorgeous, beautiful, picturesque, breathtaking Sunday with temps in the low 70s and lots of sunshine.
I've said it time and time again, you can't beat the weather this time of the year. I absolutely love it.
Maybe on 90 next week, first one of the year. We have not hit it yet, so Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll look for a 90.
All right. Tucker Barnes with all things weather right here on the Live Zone. Guys, if you haven't already done so, make sure you download the Fox Local app. That way you can take your weather with you any and everywhere you go. All right, guys, you're taking a look on the bottom right-hand side of your screen to the White House, where any minute now, President Trump is going to be joined by the Prime Minister of Norway, Mr. Jonas Gahr Støre. The two expected to address the media. Speaking of the president, he will mark a significant milestone in his second term next week, but many of his policies appear to be unpopular with voters. As Fox's Rebecca Castor reports, Americans are pleased with his work on border security, but are anxious about the economy. And that's not all.
President Trump marks 100 days in office next week, but new polling shows voters see little to celebrate. The latest Fox News polling finds border security is the only issue where a majority of voters approve of Trump's work, but he's underwater when it comes to immigration, the economy, inflation, tariffs, foreign policy, and more.
The poll that was conducted on November 5th, which happened to be Election Day, we had 77 million Americans vote for Trump policy. So it's only about 4 months. Give us some time.
Let's be clear. Donald Trump is feeling the heat from Democrats and across America about how bad these tariffs are.
This polling is a new low for Trump on the economy, an issue many Americans say was their deciding factor this election. His ever-evolving tariffs have thrown the markets into a spin, but the president remains optimistic the U.S. will come out on top.
In the end, I think what's going to happen is we're going to have great deals.
If President Trump was inking trade deals with other countries, it would have sort of an effect where it put pressure on China, but at the moment, he's not getting that. And as a result, it's kind of this dance, who's going to call who first. He hasn't spoken to Xi since he entered office, and he wants that call, and I'm not sure it's going to happen.
President Trump plans to celebrate his 100th day in office, holding a rally in Michigan on Tuesday. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
And yet again, we are awaiting the president and the Norway Prime Minister to address the media. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone, taking you now live to the White House, where President Trump is now joined with the Prime Minister of Norway, Jonas Gahr Støre. The two expected to, well, talk about trade, regional security, and obviously Russia's war on Ukraine. Let's take a listen in.
Jonas Gahr Støre is here, who is the, as you know, the Prime Minister of Norway. He's a great gentleman, highly respected, beloved in his country. And we've had talks on the war with Ukraine and Russia and trade. We're doing very well, I think, on both. We've had some pretty good movement in every respect. The war is very important that it ends with, I used to say, 2,500 people a week dying, young people, mostly soldiers from Russia and Ukraine. And we want to end that war. We want to end it quickly. And I think we've made a lot of progress, and we'll see what happens. This next few days is going to be very important. Meetings are taking place right now. Additionally, we talked about trade, and we get along very well on trade. We'll do something, but I think the Prime Minister knows that over the years, the United States has been very good to a lot of people, and it's time for us to benefit also. So we're going to have a good relationship on trade, and we discussed other things also. But Mr. Prime Minister, it's an honor to have you at the White House. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. This year is 200 years since the first immigration from Norway to the U.S. We come here early in your term. Appreciate that you take time. We have highlighted that very close cooperation. We are allies. We look after security in the north, in the Arctic. A lot of confidence between our services. We have discussed in detail the war in Ukraine. I have saluted the President for his initiative to make progress towards something that can be a ceasefire and an end to this terrible conflict. It is a complex picture, but it needs political will and push. And we have exchanged ideas on that. And then I think the President and his team have been open to hear our perspectives. And on trade, we have also emphasized that we can benefit, both of us, by trading. We can be complementary, and we can find good solutions. But first of all, I appreciate, Mr. President, the spirit and the tone of this conversation, which has been confirmation of a very strong partnership.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any questions?
Can I ask you
Yes.
first, Mr. President, have you spoken about the tariffs that you want to impose on Norway? Is there a chance that you can lower
We spoke
them,
about
lower
trade,
those tariffs?
and we understand each other very well. I think we'll have no problem.
You think that you will get an agreement?
I think we'll
with
have no problem whatsoever with Norway.
Mr. President, did you discuss a possible visit to Norway? Did you discuss a possible visit for President Trump to
We
Norway?
didn't, but I love it. I mean, I've been there, and it is a beautiful place. They have.
But I told the President that, you know, he is receiving us early in the term. He's welcome to visit Norway. We would like to have him, and it will be another way of emphasizing this strong friendship.
Mr. President, Norway has been a staunch supporter of Ukraine since the Russian invasion in 2022. Has something been discussed here today that may have altered your views on things?
No, we want to, very simply, I have no allegiance to anybody. I have allegiance to saving lives, and I want to save a lot of lives. A lot of young people, mostly young people. It's the war. It's the soldiers, and if we can do that, also, as you know, I got started because the money that's been spent on this war is insane. It should have never happened, and it would have never happened if I were president. But Biden spent $350 billion on this, and it's a shame, and that's what got me involved. And then I looked at, and I see the results. It's horrible. It's a killing field. 5,000 soldiers a week on average, and we want to stop that. We both want to stop that for a lot of reasons, but I would say that is my number one reason.
Do you think that Russia, that we will get Russia to accept a deal that also Ukraine and Europe is willing to?
I think so, yeah. I do. I believe they will accept, and I think we're going to get this over with. I hope so, soon.
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
You continue to lack support from NATO allies in your goal of obtaining Greenland. How will you proceed if you don't get that support?
Well, Greenland's going to be interesting, but that's for another day. I think we need that for international peace.
What are you expecting of your
And if you
allies?
don't have that, I think it's a big threat to our world. So I think Greenland's very important for international peace. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Mr. President, this morning in a Truth Social post, you used the words, Vladimir, stop. That seemed like a slightly different message, a personal message. What is your level of frustration with President Putin
I didn't like
at this
last
point?
night. I wasn't happy with it. And we're in the midst of talking peace, and missiles were fired. And I was not happy with it. That's what I meant, and that's, you know, what it is. I assume that's what you mean.
Sorry.
Yeah.
If
I
the
assume.
bombs keep falling, will you consider additional sanctions toward Russia, or what will you do if President Putin...
I'd rather answer that question in a week. I want to see if we can have a deal. No reason to answer it now, but I won't be happy. Let me put it that way. Things will happen.
Mr. President, why are you not putting more pressure on Russia? I know a lot of Europeans.
Putting a lot of pressure. You don't know what pressure I'm putting on Russia. They're dealing. You have no idea what pressure I'm putting on Russia. We're putting a lot of pressure.
Can you maybe tell us that? What kind of
We're
pressure
putting a
are you
lot of
putting on
pressure on Russia, and Russia knows that, and some people that are close to it know, or he wouldn't be talking right now. The Prime Minister understands that better than anybody. He wouldn't be talking right now. He's talking, and we're putting a lot of pressure. I think he wants to make a deal. We're going to find out very soon, but it takes two to tango, and you have to have Ukraine want to make a deal too, and they're being hit very hard, and I do believe they want to make a deal.
Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, you said that the Ukraine have to give some territory to win peace, among them Crimea. Do you stand by that? And I know that the former NATO General Secretary today has told you that he does not agree, and he believes in territorial integrity of the Ukraine. How will you deal with that with your allies? And do you stand by that Ukraine have to give?
Former Secretary General happens to be right here, you know, so they can't put words in his mouth. He's been a great general, frankly. It was because that's what you are. Really, you're a general. But he's been a great Secretary General. We had a tremendous relationship, very successful, and I think he could speak for himself. He's right here.
But do you still agree that Ukraine have to give some territory away to win peace?
Well, it depends what territory. They've been fighting. They've lost a lot of territory. We'll do the best we can. Working with Ukraine, we'll do the best we can. But they lost a lot of territory. When you say Crimea, that was handed over during a president named Barack Hussein Obama. That had nothing to do with me, Crimea. That was 11 years ago with Obama. And they made a decision. There wasn't a bullet fired. There was no fighting. There was no anything. They just handed it over. Now they say, well, can you get it back? I think that's going to be a very difficult thing to do. That was given by Barack Obama when he was president, not by Donald Trump.
Thank you, Mr. President. You had a long meeting, Mr. President. Proposal that you put on the table. It's a 30-day ceasefire proposal. Your national security team presented it to both Ukraine and Russia. 2 months ago, Ukraine agreed to that ceasefire proposal immediately. Russia has not. And my question is Russia the obstacle to peace based upon that, just getting to that 30-day ceasefire?
I don't think so. I think that they both want peace right now. They're ready to do something. We'll see what happens. Complicated, very complicated. But I think they are both very much looking to make a deal. Marco, what would you say?
Well, first of all, what was put before our partners was options to discuss about things that it would take to end a war. This war is endable. Both sides just have to agree to it. We've shown them a pathway forward. We've discussed those ideas. It was a good meeting yesterday. There'll be good meetings over the weekend. We've shown them the finish line. We need both of them to say yes. But what happened last night with those missile strikes should remind everybody of why this war needs to end. It's horrible those missiles landed. What's even worse is there are today people that were alive yesterday that are not alive today because this war continues, and the president wants to stop it. And everyone should be thanking the president for being a peacemaker and trying to save lives. That's what we're trying to do here. It's not our war. We didn't start it, as you know. But we're trying to end the dying. We're trying to end the destruction. And We've shown the path forward. We can see the finish line, but both of them have to get there. We're going to do everything we can to help them get there, but they have to ultimately say yes. Both
And
of
we
them
are
do.
using a lot of pressure on both. You know, if you think we're just in there because we're nice people, and we are nice people, but we're using a lot of pressure on both.
What concessions, Mr. President, and to your national security team, what concessions has Russia offered up thus far to get to the point where you're closer to peace?
Stopping the war, taking the whole country. Pretty big concession.
Mr. President, if you are going to take down the tariffs, what do you want Norway to buy more of from the U.S.?
To buy more? Well, you don't need snow. You don't need skis. You don't need ski champions either, right? You have a lot of them. We just want to keep the relationship the way it is. We've had a great relationship. I think now maybe closer than ever, but we've had a great relationship with Norway. I think just keep it the way it is, kid. You can't do better.
Really? Not even by, say,
Well, if they want to give us some additional concessions, that's okay. You can't do much better. Yes, yes.
Mr. President, you had a long meeting with Norway today. You said that Norway is doing a lot of things right, but on the Ukraine, if I can ask both you and the Prime Minister, did you find common ground today on Ukraine and the peace plan?
Totally. It's totally common ground. The Prime Minister can speak about it, but I can just say he wants to see people stop dying more than anything else, and he'd like to see it end. He's going to help us end it.
Mr. President, can I say that to move towards an end of this war, U.S. engagement is critical, and President Trump made that possible. That is clear, that is obvious, it's really happening. Now the important thing is that both parties have to know that they have to deliver, and they have to feel the pressure to deliver. Ukraine is under attack. They are defending themselves. Lives are being lost. And we believe very firmly that there needs to be a ceasefire, the initiative taken by the US some time ago. It needs to be respected. And then to move on to something which both parties can own. That is the complicated part in such a dramatic war. And here I believe Europeans and Americans working together, as we do much closer now. And I salute the team of President Trump of being, open in that process. We had a good discussion on this today. And then we have to move on, and we cannot lose time because this is too much drama happening. One thing is people losing their lives, but it is a bad thing for Europe, and it's a bad thing for the world to having such a broad conflict going on. It can have ramifications far beyond Ukraine.
Mr. President, a follow-up question on China. Mr. President, if I forgot my question. I wanted to ask about.
It's all right. That happens to the
best. It happens sometimes. Yeah. No, Mr. President, I wanted to ask about the. Zelensky has said that he wants more Patriot missiles. So far, has been no response from the United States. If you, and the United States, decides to pull out of negotiating for peace, trying to broker peace, does that also mean a no on Patriot missiles, a no on sharing intelligence with Ukraine?
Let's see what happens. I think we're going to make a deal. And if we make a deal, that'll be wonderful. We won't have to worry about your question. You can ask that question in 2 weeks, and we'll see. But I think we're getting very close. The Prime Minister feels the same way, and we'll hopefully not have to answer that question.
Mr. President,
Norway is the third country to be officially invited to the White House after Liberation Day. Why did you invite Norway so soon to the White House?
Because I like them. And I like your Prime Minister, and I like the way your government runs. And I respect the King. He's highly respected in Norway. It's a great thing, not an easy thing to do. He's done a great job. Yeah.
Would you like an invitation to visit the King?
Absolutely. You get me that invitation.
I just told the President he's welcome to visit Norway.
President Trump, first like parking
you said before that you like the Norwegian Petroleum Fund, and I'm wondering if that has been up for discussion today, the way that we have structured our money and whether.
Well, this fund was created in the late 1990s to save for future generations the income from oil and gas. Norwegians should continue to work as hard, dedicated, innovate, and move forward, despite having these incomes, which we happen to be in the period of our history where we can harvest, and we have transferred that into investments, half of them, by the way, here in the United States. So I think this is a model which we have been able to explore. If we can share experiences, and we do with our colleagues in the US, you never copy this one-to-one, but there can be techniques and way of working that we have used in organizing our fund. Jens Stoltenberg was the finance minister when the first dollar entered that fund, so he's a safe hand to have as a finance minister today. What do you say?
No, and as you said, Mr. Prime Minister, we are ready to sit down with the US to also work with them on if they want to establish a sovereign wealth fund, because we have a good experience with our fund. And I think that one example of how we work together with the United States is that half of the fund, close to $1 trillion are invested in the United States, mainly in equity, but also some in fixed income, including government bonds. So this is an expression of trust in the United States, expressed by the strong investment of the Sovereign Wealth Fund. Then just briefly on Ukraine, since it was mentioned, we had a very good and extensive discussion about Ukraine, the path forward to peace. And as the Prime Minister said, we commend the US for pushing forward to try to find a negotiated solution. At the same time, we need to continue to support Ukraine, and therefore I'm proud that Norway has actually tripled the military support to Ukraine, and this year we will allocate close to $8 billion to Ukraine. That will strengthen them and also their hand on the negotiating table.
If I may add to that, if there's a peace, and there will be a peace, we have a common responsibility in securing democratic Ukraine for the future, and the best security guarantee they can have is the ability to defend themselves, and we are investing in that.
Mr. Prime Minister,
Mr. President, as it relates to tariffs, Mr. President, when you unveiled your reciprocal tariffs on April the 2nd, the tariff rate for Norway was 15%. Based upon your conversations that you've had today with the Prime Minister, do you see that tariff rate coming down from what you proposed just a few weeks ago?
Well, they have a great fund of $2 trillion. It's a big fund, and they don't have any debt. So I think they'd probably be willing to pay us more than that, I hope.
Are the two nations in agreement of which countries?
Mr. President,
Yes.
in 2018, your former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo called for an end to Russian occupation of Crimea. Why does this administration, why has this administration changed its stance on territorial concessions for Crimea?
Well, the war started. It would have never started if I were president. This is a war that is horrible. All wars are horrible. This one is in particular bad. And I don't know that you can ever say there's going to be a winner to this, because so many lives have been lost. Not only soldiers, I mean, a lot of lives have been lost. I think that we want to do one very simple thing. It would have never happened if I were president. Zero chance it was going to, and it didn't. People say, how do you know that? Number one, it didn't happen. We never even discussed it. I would talk to Putin about it. It was the apple of his eye. Ukraine was the apple of Putin's eye, but there was never even a thought that he'd go in. And I think he understood that I would not be happy if he did. And it was only when I got out, and when you mention what happened to Ukraine years ago under President Obama and a vice president that was also president later, unfortunately for this country, what happened is large chunks of land were given up, and it was called Crimea, and that was a big thing. That was a big moment. But this isn't my war. This is Biden's war. This is a war that Biden was president when this war happened. But I'm trying to put out the fire, and I think we'll be successful. And if we do, we're going to save a lot of lives. Otherwise, and the Prime Minister had a statement. He said, this is just a point in time. We're very lucky because this is a point. And if this doesn't happen, this could go on for a long time.
Mr. President, will you have meetings with other world leaders when you're in Rome, sir?
Future Democrat president?
I don't think he will. I think he wants to make peace. I think he wants to end it, and I feel pretty confident of that. But we're gonna know pretty soon.
Mr. President, will you have meetings with other world leaders when you're in Rome?
Yes, I will.
Which leaders do you want to meet, sir?
Well, I'd like to meet them all. That would be nice. I'd like to take care of all of them, but we have many of them there, and they all want to meet. They want to meet about trade. And we are making some great inroads and great deals. You might want to speak about that, Mr. Secretary.
We had a very successful bilateral meeting with the Republic of South Korea today. We may be moving faster than I thought, and we will be talking technical terms as early as next week as we reach an agreement on understanding as soon as next week. So South Koreans came early. They came with their A game, and we will see if they follow through on that.
President Trump, you're rounding up your first 100 days.
Do you think you deserve the Nobel Peace Prize if you manage to create
Do I deserve the Nobel Peace?
If you manage to create peace.
Well, maybe for the Abraham Accords. I don't want to get ahead of myself on this one, but they say for the Abraham Accords, and by the way, speaking of that, we're going to be filling it up. A lot of countries want to come into the Abraham Accords. You know, we have 4, and Biden did nothing on that one, too. It's the same 4. But they're great countries, and they were brave doing it, and it's worked out very well, and we're going to be filling up the Abraham Accords. They're going to be, I think, filling it up very rapidly. Martha,
Mr. President,
could you say something about that?
There's great, enormous opportunity to grow the Abraham Accords, but I would just point to one thing. Of all the leaders in the world today, no leader is working harder to prevent wars or end them than President Trump is right now. That's why we're talking to Iran. That's why we're engaged with Ukraine and Russia. It's the desire to prevent these wars from breaking out and to end the ones that exist already. And again, I just think it's tremendous for our country to be led by a president who desires to bring peace and establish peace and protect peace. So it's hard work.
Mr. President, you know, Marco just mentioned something that maybe we should talk about for just a second, if we could, Mr. Prime Minister. And you're involved in it too, because you've been involved in the world and peace. But I think we're doing very well with respect to Iran, and we're having very serious meetings. And there are only 2 options, and the one option is not a good option. It's not a good option at all. And I think we're doing very well on an agreement with Iran, but that one, we're doing a lot of things, I will say, but that one is well on its way. We could have a very, very good decision, and a lot of lives will be saved.
Mr. President, on the economy, there was a slowdown. Mr. President, on the economy, there was a slowdown as it relates to home sales in the month of March, the slowest pace since 2009. Is that an economic indicator, and perhaps the Treasury Secretary can weigh in on this as well, is that an economic indicator that concerns you about the broader U.S. economy?
No, they had very good numbers on housing today, extremely good numbers, and that's despite interest rates, because, you know, if you look at what happened, everyone said, oh, I said I was going to get prices down. I did. Energy just hit $1.98 in a couple of states. It's way down. Energy's down, and we're about $64 a barrel. When I came in, and we were looking at $89, $90, $95. And by the way, that helps us solve the war too. Having those energy prices is a big incentive for Russia to also agree with solving the war problem. Groceries are down. When I was with you 2 months ago, you were complaining about eggs. I said, I just got here. I was here for about a week when the press started saying about eggs have gone through the roof. I said, I just got here. Tell me about eggs. And they happened. They went through the roof, and you couldn't get them. So we just had a big Easter egg hunt at the White House. Thousands and thousands of eggs, and the price was down 87%. So we did a great job. Housing is doing very well. We should lower interest rates. That's the Fed. I hope they lower interest rates. That's a smart thing to do. Be ahead a little bit, although already it's a little bit late. But in the end, we just have a great country. We have a very strong country, and we have every other country. I can't think of one country that doesn't want to negotiate a deal. And they either negotiate a deal or we set a deal that we think is fair. Because we don't have to go through all of these. It would be physically impossible. You know, you have so many people that really understand it, which is a very small group of people here. And we are going to, at some point, just set prices for deals. Some will be tariffed. Some treated us very unfairly. They'll be tariffed higher than others. But we've been ripped off for many, many years. The United States has been ripped off like no country probably in the history of the world has been ripped off for 45, 50 years. And countries have gone rich by doing that with the United States. We've taken care of their militaries, and military is another subject we talk about. We're not going to make that subject to any of the deals, but you know the same countries that I do where we virtually take care of their military and then don't get treated fairly on trade. So the people, and I don't blame those countries, I blame the people that sat at that beautiful desk right behind you, because those people didn't do the job for this country, and they let us lose $4 billion a day on trade. We were losing $4 or $5 billion a day on trade when I got here, and now we're going to be much better than breaking even, and we're going to be making $4 or $5 billion a day on trade. So, but I don't blame any country, not the worst of them. And we were abused by countries. I blame the President of the United States that happened to be sitting when these deals were made. Disgraceful. When I was here, we had a great 4 years. We had the most successful economy in the history of our country, my first term. And we were very tough on trade. And with China, as you know, they paid hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. But nobody else ever did that. China paid not 10 cents to any other president. And but not only China, virtually every country got away with murder. And we just can't let that happen. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Head out. Please start with me. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, press. Head out. Let's go. Thank you. Keep going. Keep moving. Thank you. Thank you, press.
One little mistake is over. It's dangerous business. One mistake.
You're out. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thanks, guys.
I just finished.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. No more photos. Thanks. Keep moving. We're done. Sir, we're done.
I don't really.
Thank you, press.